What's up, people? In this video, I have made a presentation that says how to pick the right supplements because I think supplements are important and I talk a lot about them, and I wanted to make this video so that people know how to pick the right ones according to me and my strategy exactly. Okay, so kind of a long video, but if you are interested in this kind of thing and if you know nothing about supplements, then hopefully this will give you some information on how to pick the right ones. So here we go. Okay, should you listen to me? Maybe. I think you should. However, I'm not a doctor, blah, blah, blah. That should be obvious. Not a medical professional. This is just literally like you're taking the advice of some guy who made a video and put it on YouTube, who maybe has a lot of experience, but still just really kind of some guy, not a researcher, not a scientist, not like anybody. I mean, I have a lot of experience that make me an expert. I don't know. I think I am. But anyway, I've been a supplement junkie since I started working out. So basically, like, since I started working out, like when I started working out, like when creatine came out, right? Like creatine was like the big thing. And my, this like really buff science teacher who would always wear long sleeve shirts because like he was apparently like super ripped and I guess he just didn't want to show off. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, we'd also ask him about creatine, and he said it was fine. So that, I guess, started me off, started taking creatine. And then since then, I would always just like go to GNC back before you could order it online. GNC was like the place to go. And I'd go to GNC and I would just like try different things with whatever money I had on hand. I'm always on the lookout for the next best thing. I do a ton of research on my own. I read studies, I experiment, I like read anecdotal reports. So like this next one, I have a lot of personal experience with different things. I've read studies. I actually like read the studies. And I have read a lot of anecdotal reports on forums, Reddit, whatever. And also I'm not selling anything. Currently I might sell some supplements in the future. I have thought about it. Nootropics or like workout supplements or something like that. Currently I am not. So like, this is not like me saying like, oh my God, like creatine is so great, guys. Like head over to my website, coupon code, like, YouTube to get 10% off. It's not like that, not selling anything. I don't care if you do this or not, but yeah, if you want to, then maybe you take my advice. I don't know. Okay, why supplements? Because they supplement your effort. Basically, the way that I see supplements are a way for you to get a better result doing the things that you should be doing anyway, right? For example, you're already working out, you're already going to work, you're already like living your life basically, and the purpose of supplements is to make you better at those things or make those things easier for you to do at a high level or easier for you to improve on those things as quickly as possible in ways that you might not be able to improve if you're only relying on meditation and sleep and exercise and proper diet. Supplements are not a magic pill, so do not think that I'm saying that if you take substance X all your problems go away. There are some that are very powerful and very useful and you can get a lot of use out of them. But at the end of the day, there is nothing that is a substitute for like proper diet and like strenuous exercise. So as of yet, there's no like exercise in a bottle that you can take. So supplements also improve overall health, ideally, right? There are like most of the ones that are approved and even the ones that are kind of taken and not technically approved. Although I guess supplements are not regulated by the FDA. Anyway, the ones that are legal to buy are generally things that like will improve your overall health or improve a part of your life that will indirectly improve your health. Most are safe, well studied, and have thousands of anecdotal reports as well, which you can find on Google. And I'll show you how to do actual research on Google after this. Like I said before, they make life, exercise, work easier. Like whatever you do, the idea is that there is a supplement out there that will help you do it better or easier or more efficiently, so that you can kind of learn that skill or master that area of your life and then move on to the next thing. And then finally, diet, exercise, and meditation, can't do it all. Okay. Like there's no, say creatine, for example, in order to get the same amount of creatine that you would get in like a standard like 5-gram dose, you would have to eat, more meat than your body's capable of eating. So it's just a simple example. Like you can't get the same result without using it, I guess. I mean, I guess you could, but you take two identical people, one of them's taking creatine, one of them is not, and they do the same workouts. The one who is taking creatine is going to perform better. Bottom line. That's just one example. Okay, do you need supplements, however? No, you don't need them. You don't need anything. You don't need, like, what do you need? You need water, you need food, and you need a roof over your head, I guess. Sleep, maybe. That's really all you need. You don't need supplements. You don't need any of this shit, And then I wrote here, you also don't need designer clothes. You don't need a cell phone. You don't need a car. You can live without those things. Absolutely. But they make your life easier. They make you able to more efficiently move in the world and get done what you need to get done so that you can achieve a higher purpose, or like whatever your thing is in life. Serve God. I don't know, whatever it is. Everything is a tool, and certain tools will help us get the job done faster. Let's take construction, for example. This has nothing to do with supplements, it's just an analogy. But you can hire 20 guys, give them shovels, and tell them to dig a hole. Okay, that'll take however long it'll take, and it'll cost you however much it'll cost you. Or you can get one guy and teach him how to use a bulldozer, or like whatever the thing is that with the big scoop thing. I don't know. And you can have him like work the levers for like a minute and like dig the same amount of dirt out of the hole without having to, pay all those people or put them to work. And you can then use those people to do something else, right? So think of that analogy when it comes to supplements. You can try and bench 500 pounds without supplements, or you can take supplements, you can do it faster and you get there sooner. In my opinion, supplements should improve your overall health, work capacity, and extend your lifespan. Okay, that to me is, and we'll go over this in another slide, but that's what I consider to be a quote unquote good supplement, or something that's worth taking. It should do one of these things, if not all three. And again, you don't need them, but you'll have a higher quality of life with them. So again, like I said, do you need an iPhone? No, you can use a brick phone, arguably, right? But if you have an iPhone, you have access to the internet, you can use Google, you can watch videos on YouTube, you can, go on Instagram, you can do like all of the stuff that you would not be able to do if you did not have that high quality tool. Okay, so what is the criteria for a good supplement, in my opinion? And this is criteria for, I guess, purchasing one, if that makes sense, right? This is what I look for, basically. Okay, so what I look for is that something has, and there's a reason I put this first, has multiple anecdotal reports of beneficial effects in places, forums, Reddit, whatever, places where people do not have anything directly to gain from relating their experience, other than the validation of knowing that other people read their report or whatever it is. The reason I put this first is because I consider this to be the most important. I'm not saying scientific studies are not important, but this is what I will look for first, because bottom line, I want to see, number one, does it actually work? Does it actually do anything? And number two, is it like safe? Like, are people saying that they had like diarrhea and vomiting and they got cancer and whatever bad shit happened after they took it? Then I'm not going to take it. Okay. But if they're like, oh my God, I had so much energy, it was really great, and all these great things happened to me, then I'm more likely to research it more. Okay. No one of these things, there's not a single one of these criteria that will make me say, okay, I'm going to go buy it right now. They kind of like will just encourage me to continue researching it until I'm ready to make a purchase, if that makes sense. No negative side effects. This is another big one, right? Like, no negative side effects, or like minimal, like extremely minimal side effects. Okay, I don't want to take anything that will have negative side effects that I cannot control. Okay, not saying I haven't in the past. Of course I have. Not saying like everything I do in my life is like the most ultimate like healthy thing that anybody could ever do. But when it comes to supplements, like I don't want to take anything that is going to have a negative side effect, if that makes sense. It's very basic, like, I don't know, that's just me. And then here, improves at least one of the following: mental clarity, memory, problem solving, verbal fluency, energy, endurance, strength, or focus. We'll go over these in a later slide, and I'm sure there's more also, maybe longevity or like whatever, anything. But this is kind of the idea. Now, like, you're not improving mental clarity, for example, for the just to improve mental clarity, like for what? Like you have a goal. Let's say I'll use myself as an example, right? when I work, I have a sales job, and it requires like lots of energy, lots of endurance, verbal fluency, and it requires me to like not get fatigued easily after working for extended periods of time on my feet and talking to people and making lots of decisions very quickly. So when I create my stack, right, or pick the supplements that I want to use, I want everything that I take to be able to contribute to that goal. It's not just endurance so I can just be, have more endurance for the sake of having more endurance. There's a specific like reason that I need that endurance, if that makes sense. So just take a look at your own life and figure out what your weak spots are and decide what you want. And then finally, well studied. This is kind of like, I want to say, honestly, this is optional because there are some substances out there that are not well studied at all, maybe 1 or 2 studies. And, let's say there's only 1 or 2 studies, but people, cowboys out there, they like read those studies and like, I want to try it, and they bought it through however they, sourced it, and they tried it. And as a result, there's lots of anecdotal reports out there about it, but the scientific community hasn't gotten around to actually studying it and publishing those studies. So again, like I said, I'm not saying this is not important, but and it's not necessarily optional. But if there are enough of these anecdotal reports that are extremely positive, then I would say this is optional, or optional. Let's just say. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about anecdotal reports versus science. Okay, both are useful in my opinion. I'm not saying science is like completely useless and it's a scam, and no. But anecdotal reports are slightly more relevant. Okay, if let's just say, right? Well, I was going to say, anyway, it doesn't matter. If you have 100 people, right, who take something and they say, oh my God, it's amazing. They say all this good stuff about it. And science says something ambivalent about it. Like, well, we studied it in this, but the proof is inconclusive and we're not really sure if it actually does that. But like all these people are reporting like all these good benefits from it. Is it possible that just like all these thousands of people experience placebo effect from it, or hundreds, or whatever it is? Maybe it's possible, but in my opinion, I'm more likely to side with a lot of people having a common experience who don't know each other and are not like coordinating this, expression of their experience together, as opposed to one singular study that studied like however many people and came to a different conclusion, or an inconclusive conclusion, if that makes sense. Obviously, there's a lot of variables at play there, but overall, in my opinion, when I make my decisions, I always look first for anecdotal reports, and then after, well, not always, most of the time. Anyway, anecdotal reports are generally unbiased and therefore more trustworthy. You have, and I'm not saying this is always the case, but you do have some issues where scientific studies will be biased, and there's lots of, I haven't actually looked too closely into this, but I have heard a lot that researchers will kind of like play with their results a little bit to get the like hypothesis that they were gunning for in the beginning. How often does that really happen? I don't know, but in general, again, like there's this idea of like the wisdom of the crowd. Like if you take one person's opinion, it's not super reliable that it's actually true. But if you take the average of like 100 people's opinion, that's generally like a lot more trustworthy, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's just me. And right here, scientific studies only measure certain variables and don't always report negative side effects. For example, let's say you have a drug that is studying the effectiveness of something on blood pressure, right? They'll study, people, whatever, control group took this, what's it, control group and experimental group, or I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, the placebo group took this, nothing happened. The other group took this and their blood pressure went down. Okay, great. Blood pressure went down, but, some of them had seizures or like whatever, like some other okay, that's extreme, but some other biomarker also went down that shouldn't have gone down. That's bad if it goes down. Something negative happened, basically. And that's not necessarily reported in these scientific studies because they don't test for it, and you can't actually test for everything. Like your blood pressure went down, great, but also lowered your testosterone. Random examples, right? Blood pressure went down, but you can't sleep. Whatever, random stuff, right? But the anecdotal reports, they might mention that because people are just relaying their experience. Yeah, ever since I started taking this, like this happened that was really good, but I couldn't sleep for some reason, or I gained weight, or like whatever it is. However, that's not to say that science is not good, because studies can show you benefits that anecdotal reports do not mention. The example that comes to mind with me is that, like, let's say creatine again. Okay, there's over 600 studies on creatine that show like all the stuff that it does. One of the things that I only found out when I read the studies on creatine was that it improves cognition. So it, makes you smarter. It's a simple way of saying that. I never would have even thought to look for that. I wouldn't have noticed it because I wasn't looking for it, right? Maybe it doesn't make you like a super genius, but it might improve your cognition enough to warrant taking it even if you're not working out extremely hard, which is when people normally take creatine, right? So stuff like that I think is important to, it's still important to check the studies. Okay, how to do your research. Number one, I like examine.com. Okay, this is a website that aggregates all of the scientific studies on certain supplements, on a lot of supplements, and they will kind of put it in a very easy to understand format, and it's completely free. They sell like supplement guides or something, but like all of the good information on the site is completely free. So what do? You go to examine.com and then you type in whatever supplement you like want to read about, and then it'll return all the information to you, and it'll say like how many studies there were, if there were any problems with the studies, and what the like magnitude of effect was. So let's take creatine again, right? Like let's say, yeah.
You have clothes for me to wash?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Had to do that, huh? Anyway, let's say there's lots of studies, right, about how creatine like has like an anti-fatigue effect. It'll show like how strong that effect is, right? Another good place is Reddit. Okay, so if you go to Reddit and you type in like blah, blah, blah supplement or blah, blah, blah drug experiences, a lot of people will go on Reddit to relay those experiences, to talk about whatever it is that they did, that they tried. They share information. People get information from Reddit. People like to help out and give their own insights on whatever it is they were taking. So it's also very good to go on there. And what else we have here? Blogs and reviews. Okay, so the thing with blogs and reviews, like you have a lot of these bloggers, right, who will say like, my experience with SARMs, for example. And they'll be like, I took RAD 140 or I took LGD 4033 and like, these are my results. They were so amazing, blah, blah, blah. And then at the bottom of the article, it'll have like, I bought mine from blah, 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 SARMs.com. Like if you want to buy some, go over there, use my coupon code, take 10%, right? So like, yeah, okay, maybe they got results. Maybe they, the before and after pictures are legit. Maybe everything's legit, but still the fact that they're gaining something out of relaying that information to you, they're not unbiased is the problem, right? Obviously everybody, there's nothing really 100% altruistic. Like everybody's going to get something out of something or something out of what they do. Otherwise they wouldn't do it. But when it's like a direct monetary compensation, it's a little bit suspect, if that makes sense, in my opinion, at least. So I take those with a grain of salt. NCBI is good if you have the patience to read studies, because a lot of them, it's very like heavy scientific jargon and it's kind of hard to decipher sometimes. If you like don't want to read that stuff, you kind of need to know like what you're looking for specifically. So it's good, but I would say like go to examine.com first. This is good for science. Reddit is good for personal experiences. These are also okay for personal experiences, but take them with a grain of salt. And then if you want more information on the science, then read these. And then longevity, right? Or longicity. I don't actually know how to pronounce that. I want to say it's longevity, like longevity, but longevity. I don't know, whatever. This is mainly for nootropics and research chemicals, where people will go, and it's a forum for people to like relay their experiences about nootropics that are not necessarily commercially available to the public, because they're either not approved for human consumption or they're just not sold, or they're like sometimes illegal. So that's why I say here it's for the cowboys, right? If you're a cowboy, if you're like ready to take chances on substances that are not studied at all and only maybe have a handful of anecdotal reports or one study, for example, then you can go over there. And it's not only for that, but it's a good place for that. Okay, so you can go over there and try that stuff if you want. Okay, good search terms to use on Google, right? So substance, examine.com, right? Creatine, examine.com. This will give you an aggregate of the scientific studies, right? Like I said, examine.com, that's what they do. Substance desired result, and this will see if the supplement will actually help, right? So like creatine, cognition, and then that should like return some results. I don't know if like I need to actually give people instructions on how to use Google in this way, maybe, but I just thought I'd throw this slide in there because maybe it'll help. Okay, so again, creatine, like, or how about this? Does creatine improve cognition? Or creatine and cognition, right? And then again here, let's say substance desired result and CBI. So substance, creatine, cognition, and CBI. Okay, this will show you if there are any actual studies about the supplement. Creatine, like substance desired result, and then Reddit. This is more to check if there are actually detailed experiences about the supplement on Reddit. You can also search on Reddit itself, but I prefer to use Google just because I think it's a more well-rounded search engine than Reddit. Substance natural experiences, so like creatine experiences. If you pick something like creatine, for example, that's very common and has been around forever, like you're not going to probably get very good results at the top. But if you pick something that's more fringe and you just write experiences, like it used to be SARMs, but now SARMs are like, they're kind of mainstream at this point. They will show you like actual experiences with the supplement, or results is also okay. But results, the problem with results, if you like creatine results, you'll get a lot of, like the blogs that I was telling you about. The blogs are like reviews or like, oh, I did this. These were my results. If you want to buy some, here's my coupon code, for example. And then natural way to desired result. So like the one time that I used this to great effect is when I discovered oil pulling. I was living in New Zealand with my girlfriend at the time, and I had a cavity. Well, I thought I had a cavity. It wasn't actually a cavity, but I thought it was a cavity. And I didn't want to pay whatever, a couple $100 for a dentist. So I looked online and I searched for like natural way to heal a cavity. And I had thought until then, and most people think this way about cavities, which is that if you have tooth decay, you have to go to a dentist. There's no way to like regrow enamel. There's no way to heal cavities. Like it's impossible. That's what most people think. And as far as I know, that's what dentists will tell you. But that's not true. There's plenty of reports of people doing oil pulling and like regrowing enamel and getting rid of the decay and also changing your diet and like all this stuff now that if you dig a little bit deeper and you just don't accept like the mainstream explanation for how things are regarding health, which is generally, it's pretty suspect, I think most of the time, you will find some natural ways to improve your health, right? A lot of this is herbal stuff or like natural cures that existed a million years ago. But there's definitely some good information on there. Okay, that's maybe not necessarily supplement related, but it's still good. And then right here, before you buy something, you want to identify your goal, right? Like what area of your life do you actually want to improve? Like where are you having trouble? And I wrote some. Let me minimize. Oh shit. Let me minimize this or like reduce the size of this so you guys can actually see. So some possibilities, libido, obviously everybody knows what that is. Like for guys, like if you have issues in the bedroom, there are a multitude of things that you can take. Like obviously there's Viagra. You have like long jack, right, which is another herb. I want to say tribulus is also good for that. All of the like herbs that boost testosterone are good for that. Verbal fluency really just refers to like you being able to say whatever it is you want to say without having to think too hard about whatever the words are. Good if you speak multiple languages and one of them is not particularly fluent and you need to come up with the right words, quickly, so you don't like sit there and like think, oh, well, how do you say that? Like it's good for me. Like I've been speaking a lot of Spanish lately and it's been getting better, I think. Also because I've been speaking it, but also because I've been taking nootropics that improve verbal fluency. I also speak Hebrew. It helps with that too, whatever. Injury recovery, right? This is another good one. There's a lot of peptides that are good for this. BPC 157. I should have written these down. MK677 is also good for that. Mental sharpness. I guess like the racetams would be good for that. Caffeine is also very good for that. But like basically the point is you want to identify the goal. Like these are just examples, right? You could pick something else. You identify the goal and then you do the research based on that goal. It sounds kind of like common sense. I guess I'll just go through more of these just to give you guys some ideas, even though they're not written down. If you have a question about like one of these like recommendations, like let me know, leave me a comment, and I'll give you what I think would work well. Anxiety relief, phenibut, very good for that. Also, there's aniracetam, which is a natural I want, I want to say anxiolytic is how you say it. I don't know. Muscle growth, aside from like steroids and SARMs and stuff like that messes with your hormones, I think MK677 is good for that. Well, it'll increase lean body mass. I don't know if we can call that muscle growth. I think we could in this case. Things like creatine and agmatine will help you train harder in the gym, which will indirectly lead to muscle growth. Energy, short term, these are things like caffeine. Some of the rastams give you a nice little boost, but it'll fade after like 3 or 4 hours, 2-3 hours, something like that. Strength, creatine is good for that, in my opinion. That's kind of my go-to. Fat loss, MK677 is also good for that. There are some herbal things that are good for that as well, like yohimbe. I think that is good for fat loss. It's also good for like, what's the opposite of water retention? Like where you flush out all the fluids. So if you're fasting, for example, and you take that, it'll help clear out the water from your fat cells that you're storing. So it'll help you burn the fat faster. Don't take too much. Long-term endurance, like creatine is also good for that. Modafinil is good for that. Assertiveness. What's good for assertiveness? I would say things that are anti-anxiety are also good for assertiveness. Things that make you more intelligent are good for assertiveness, like piracetam, for example. That will indirectly make you assertive because you'll feel so much smarter that you'll be irritated with people with not being as smart as you. And that irritation will cause you to be more assertive. A little bit strange, but like, I don't know. I'm all over the place. Social fluidity. I think phenibut is good for that. That's a clear winner. Okay, so anyway, the point, identify your goal, figure out what you want, and then do your search based on that. Okay, where to buy stuff. Obviously, Amazon.com is good. If you're in America. If you're not in America, I guess you can use Swanson's vitamins, but most of you are in America. So like Amazon.com is good. You can find cheap stuff. It's all fairly high quality. Like I prefer to buy the raw powders if possible, because it's worth it to me to save the money and just weigh it out on a scale and take it that way and save it depends really honestly on how bad the stuff tastes. Nootropics Depot, this is less mainstream. It's good for like nootropics, like racetams. They have branded extracts of certain herbs. So like what Nootropics Depot has done, which used to be Serotropic, which used to be like the go-to place for nootropics. What they've done is they'll like identify some like mushroom or ginseng or something, and they'll create, I could be wrong, somebody feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. They'll create a standardized extract that's very strong, like way stronger than it is normally, and they'll brand that extract. So they'll call it like, whatever, they'll make up some name for it, but really what it is like a super concentrated form of ginseng, for example. I have not really tried too many of those, just haven't tried them yet. I've got my own stack that works for me, but they also have a lot of really good stuff. They have phenibut, they have adrafinil, which is like modafinil if you can't get it. They have good stuff over there. I buy all my stuff from them. It's not like a paid thing. Like I've repped them many times. Great customer service. Like I buy anything that I can from there as long as the price is right. Cosmic Nootropic. This is like this Russian guy who like resells Russian pharmaceuticals and ships them out from Russia. It sounds kind of strange, but you do have there is some like good stuff over there that you can get, specifically cerebrolysine and cortexin, which is very expensive. However, the prices over there are the cheapest that I've found at all on the internet. Do you actually want to like try this? Probably not. Honestly, I don't even know why I put it in here, because like most of you probably are not crazy enough to like inject pig brain into your ass. Don't ask. But in case you are, cosmicnootropic.com. And then Alibaba. Okay, so like I think you guys know Alibaba. It's like for ordering wholesale stuff from China. So like some of the other stuff that you can order is basically chemicals. You order them from like a chemical plant, and they'll synthesize anything for you and they'll ship it out. It's a little bit risky because like, it's one thing to order like retail from one of these sites, but when you're ordering bulk stuff and you're just like some guy, you don't have like a lab. I'm assuming you don't have like a lab for you like to test stuff. You're just kind of taking at face value that they're not sending you like fentanyl, and you're not about to like take 500 milligrams of something that's going to kill you, So it's definitely a risk, but if you're willing to take that risk, you can save a lot of money. I personally have taken that risk. I'm very happy that I did, because now I can get stuff way cheaper than retail, which has allowed me to try a lot of new things and to mainly like improve my health a lot faster on a budget. It does require a larger order size, but everything is negotiable, right? So like For example, I'm ordering MK677, I get it for $20 a gram now. If I order more, I can get it for cheaper, right? But to $20 a gram, to give you an idea, you pay, I think, $70 for 600 milligrams. And it's in like a little dropper bottle, right? So basically, if I pay the same amount, I'm getting, I don't know, what is that? 700%, getting 5 times the amount. I'm getting basically 80% discount on that because I buy it direct from the supplier, give or take. Okay, just kind of threw this in here for you guys to like maybe understand a little bit more about how these things are labeled, okay? And this is not 100% accurate, right? Like I wrote here, drugs are equal white powders in pure form. Like creatine is also a white powder. It's not a drug. It's an amino acid, right? So like there's little things like that. Like don't, bug out because like maybe the definitions aren't 100%. But for example, like paracetam or whatever, all these nootropics, like you can buy them in bulk, which means buying them as like a bulk, like a powder, and just weighing them out on a scale and taking your dose like that, as opposed to buying the pills already capped, right? Capsules. And just because it says drugs does not imply that these are narcotics or recreational drugs. Okay, caffeine is a drug. You know what I mean? So like, don't let this like word like freak you out and think like, oh my God, it's a drug. I can't take that. He's on drugs. Like he's trying to sell drugs to children on YouTube. Like no. Herbs are good for natural cures. Generally, they are weaker than powders though. That does not mean that I don't like in the supplement world, like for example, testosterone boosting supplements, which may or may not actually boost testosterone in healthy men. There's like herbal shit, is how they're referred to a lot. Like, oh, this isn't like some like synthesized chemical that's going to affect my hormones directly. This is just some like herbal shit that like they mixed together a bunch of herbs and called it some like new name, Testo Jack or whatever. And now they're selling that for $50 a bottle because of the branding and the marketing. Okay, so the herbs are good for certain things, but not always, right? Like for example, I think rhodiola, I think it's called rhodiola rosea, is very good for energy. It's very like a little bit of a boost in libido and just like mental clarity. It's very good. So things like that. There's not a lot is the point. Like kratom, I guess, is okay. Never taken it, but it's like phenibut basically, but the herbal form. In that case, I think phenibut would be better. Doesn't mean kratom doesn't work, but sometimes, like as far as I know, there's no synthesized version of rhodiola. Maybe they should do that. Pro tip, Nootropics Depot, if you're watching. Proprietary blends. This is like, I don't know if you guys have seen, if you've been to GNC lately, there's this new thing called Slim Vance, right? Which is like clinically proven for people to lose 15 pounds in 30 days, something like that, right? And really, what is it? It's a bunch of herbs and caffeine. So people take it and they get like high from the caffeine and all the herbs, and they're more energetic. You're supposed to take it before working out. They say like drink a gallon of water a day, whatever. Like you drop a lot of water weight and your body is stimulated, so maybe you drop a little bit more. These things are generally not a good idea to buy. It's really like people's first entry into buying supplements, and there is a high markup on this stuff, so keep that in mind. It's always better to buy in bulk and weigh it out on your own if you have the time and inclination to learn actually how to do that. And then other things that like I just wrote as supplements, which is like amino acids, extracts, and metabolites, right? Amino acids, again, like BCAAs, for example, it's a supplement. Creatine is an amino acid. Extracts would be like, let's say they'll take an herb and instead of the actual, because a lot of times what will happen is you can either buy the entire herb, like ground into a powder and capped, or sometimes they will have identified like the most effective part of that herb that gives you the bulk of the benefit, and they'll synthesize that and they'll call it an extract, right? They'll just give you a cap of that, for example. And metabolites like agmatine, for example. Agmatine is a metabolite of arginine, which is an amino acid, right? So like, whatever, does this really matter? Did you actually need to know this? Did I just confuse you unnecessarily? Probably, but it is what it is. Research chemicals, okay? I would say in general, you want to stay away from research chemicals, okay? And there's a couple types of research chemicals, right? There's the ones that are used like recreationally, which is a lot of psychoactives. They're pretty common like on Reddit, and there's like a lot of LSD derivatives that you can buy that are called research chemicals because there's no studies on them. People just like synthesize them in a lab, and a lot of people take them recreationally, mostly. Don't like stay away from them for the most part, right? There's, I think the one exception that popped into my mind is called FL modafinil, fluorinated modafinil, which is like modafinil. It's just they added a fluoride atom fluoride molecule, atom, I don't know, molecule, right? And it just makes it last a little bit longer. I've taken it before. I don't know. I don't really like it, but like I don't think it's that bad for you is what I'm saying. But like most of the other stuff that is considered a research chemical, generally stay away from that. Like SARMs often get confused as research chemicals. I would not consider SARMs a research chemical because there is a bit of research on SARMs. So like it's not approved for human use. I don't know. Research chemical is really just like something that's been synthesized. There's anecdotal reports about it. It's not been approved for human consumption, right? So like just be careful. It's risky, use caution, let other people go first. Like just don't do it. If you have no experience, don't do it is what I would say. If you have more experience, if you're a cowboy, like do your research, read some anecdotal reports. Maybe you'll feel comfortable doing it, but like, why would you do that? Let other people go first. Be wary of guerrilla marketing on forums. Like for example, a couple of years ago, people would say that SARMs don't shut you down, right? SARMs, for those of you who don't know, is selective androgen receptor modulator, which basically means you'll get the benefits of steroids, the anabolic benefits, muscle growth, recovery, stuff like that, without the androgenic side effects, acne, hair loss, like all that other stuff, right? It's like basically the benefits of steroids without like the masculinization stuff. So they were super hyped, SARMs, right? And people would say because they don't mess with your hormones directly, they don't shut you down. Like it won't shut down your natural production of testosterone. But what actually happens, apparently, as far as I understand, is that when you take them, your body thinks it's getting testosterone anyway because it's still experiencing the anabolic effects of what testosterone would do to your body. So it's like, oh, well, okay, so this is not actual like testosterone, but it feels like testosterone, so I guess I don't need to produce any testosterone. And if you're a man and you're not producing any, that's bad. You're gonna feel like shit. It's gonna lead to all these problems, and it takes a couple of weeks to a couple of months to recover. It's not good. But on forums, you would see a lot of people saying, oh yeah, SARMs, they don't shut you down. I did 6 weeks of Osterine. I did 4 weeks of LGD. Yeah, I maybe felt like a little bit tired. And then they have like a link in their signature to go buy SARMs or something like that. Or maybe they would have like fake accounts, right? And the fake accounts would like promote the products or whatever. So just be wary of that. And now more about SARMs, right? Like this is something that I don't recommend to most people to take unless you are like an experienced lifter and you're comfortable with taking supplements already, I would say. If you're just like a random person and you're fat and out of shape, like don't take these. It's not for you. But if you are an experienced lifter and you want to like try something, I would say also don't start with SARMs because like that's what I did, right? I was like, oh, I'll try Osterine, right? Like I heard all this like good stuff about it and I tried it. And after a week, I felt like shit. I felt like actual garbage, right? So I stopped it. I started getting moody and like having all these like mood swings, really is what it is. And I tried it twice. Same thing happened both times after like a little bit of gains in the gym, but like nothing worth being moody for 6 weeks for. Like, are you kidding me? No, I'll take creatine instead. It's like the same thing. Not the same thing, but like, it helps, right? So like you kind of might as well just do steroids, right? If you are thinking about doing SARMs, like, and this is common, like obviously don't do steroids, talk to your doctor, blah, blah, blah. But like, if you're going to do anything like that, you might as well just do steroids at that point, like, because you're going to get a lot of the same negative side effects and it's more expensive. And like, why would you do that? However, if you still want to anyway, the pros are that currently they are legal, although it does look like they are going to get scheduled soon. But currently they're legal, January 2020. And like I said before, you do have the anabolic effects of steroids without the androgenic side effects, like masculinization, for example. I don't know if this means that it's safe for women, but that seems like it would be, right? Because they don't actually like bind to the androgen receptors, right? So don't quote me on that. However, it seems like that would be the case. And you don't need to inject SARMs, right? They're oral. I think when I bought my Austrian, it was in like a medicine dropper, like a dropper bottle. Maybe they have pills. I don't know. Oh my God. Okay, cons. They still shut you down. Okay, they'll shut down your natural production of testosterone. Bottom line. So like you still have to do a post-cycle therapy, PCT, afterwards. So like if you're going to have to do a PCT afterwards anyway, is it really better to do SARMs? I don't know. They're often faked. So a lot of the times you'll be buying one thing and it'll actually be something else. And you don't have a lab. You have no way of testing that. So, what are you going to you bought this like shady like research chemical off the internet. You don't know what it is and you take it. And if you don't think it is what it is, like you have no recourse. What are you going to do? And also the long-term side effects of SARMs are kind of unknown. Like you just don't know, bottom line. Like could lead to something awful in like 5 years, 10 years. It could, probably won't. I don't think it will. But, you just don't know. People have not been using SARMs for extended periods of time yet, right? Like you probably wouldn't be able to unless you're also running testosterone, for example. But, maybe it'll lead to some fucked up shit. Who knows? Nobody knows. Let's talk about steroids a little bit. And again, like I said, steroids kind of are in the same category as SARMs. Unless you're an experienced lifter or athlete, like you have no business doing these at all, ever. Like you just don't. I mean, you can be a recreational athlete. You don't have to be like a pro or an amateur or anything, but you have to be experienced. You have to know how your body responds to training in order to understand the difference that this extremely powerful substance will add to your capacity, right? In my opinion, and that's not just my opinion. Okay. Okay. The pros of steroids: you'll have a higher quality of life if you do them properly. Okay. If you do them properly and you like take normal amounts and you do a PCT and like you just manage everything the way that you should, you eat right, you train hard, blah blah blah. You will have, in my opinion, higher quality of life. You'll be, and this is a man, probably as a woman too. Like you'll get more attention from the opposite sex, straight up. You'll feel better. You'll feel like more confident. You'll look better. You'll feel more confident. No, I said that already. You'll feel better. You look better. You'll be more confident. People will be nicer to you. Like girls, I'm not saying they'll throw themselves at you, but they'll be more receptive to like any sort of conversation from you. And guys will also be nicer to you. Like you get more respect from guys, in my opinion. They're also cheap, way cheaper than SARMs. Like you can buy them online. Let you like figure that out on your own, but they're not expensive. The cons, sadly, like they're psychologically addictive, so they're easy to use irresponsibly. Case in point, when I did them, I did a 7-month cycle, right? Which is way too long. Like 7-month cycle, and my PCT was like tribulus and long jack, right? Which are these two herbs that are meant to like boost testosterone. So like I felt fine on the PCT. Like I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel moody any more than normal. Like, who isn't like depressed and moody from time to time, right? But like I still worked out. I trained super hard. I don't know if I don't have the same type of body, but I do think that there are some long-term positive effects from using them, like increased work capacity. I feel like some of that carried over. Maybe it could, little side note, it could be just that I remember how hard I trained during that time. And I kind of still feel like I can train that hard. Like it's kind of like unlock new possibilities that I didn't think were possible before, if that makes sense. However, they are psychologically addictive. Like you don't want to cycle off, right? You want to stay on them forever just because you feel so good and like you're getting all that, like your life is better in so many ways that you don't want to stop, right? So it's a slippery slope. Also, you can experience some of these. Not everybody does, but if you do, you'll probably not be happy about it. Hair loss, acne, sterility, and virilization. Virilization is where women develop masculine traits like facial hair, deeper voice. Certain sexual organs may change shape. Just leave that at that. Cons, it'll shut down your natural testosterone production, which is not good. And ultimately, like this is the big one right here, it will probably shorten your lifespan if you do them a lot. Okay. You can use them responsibly. You can like say whatever you want about like, oh, I did them this way and I did my PCT and like I did all of this stuff that, is responsible. But like bottom line, like, come on, let's be real. Like in the big scheme of things, you're probably not going to live as long as somebody who hasn't done those things. One little side note again, I think testosterone replacement therapy is probably okay if you are at an age where you stop producing testosterone naturally. I think that's my hypothesis. I don't think I'm at that age yet. I think my test is just fine. Maybe a little bit lower than when I was in my 20s. Okay, but like it's good for what I need it for now, you know? So like when I'm 70, will I start taking tests? Maybe. Will I start before then? Maybe. But like only for longevity purposes and like improved quality of life. Who knows though? I might change my mind. Okay, so let's talk about some of my favorites. And I've wrote in here also reasons why I like these. Okay, so I have written some of these down, and you guys can like come back to this part in the video at some point if you want. Creatine, this is like a staple for me. I take it every day, 5 grams a day. Sometimes I take 10 if I like have a big workout that I want to do, or if I work out twice a day, which I do when I'm not working. Anti-fatigue is very good for that. Like check all this stuff on examine.com. You just don't get as tired. Strength increase, obviously good. And intelligence boost. This is really cognition. Can't really say it's an intelligence boost. It just makes it easier for you to think, right? Like, and all of these things combined, like not only do you not get tired, it's easier for you to think and you get stronger. It's just like an all around like good supplement to take. Racetams, like this is any sort of like piracetam, pramiracetam, aniracetam, oxiracetam, whatever. I don't really take those. I really mainly take Nootropic, and I just ordered a bottle of piracetam, although it does make me a little moody, so I don't really do that. I have noticed that aniracetam is really the best for verbal fluency, specifically when I write something. I used to write a lot, and I noticed that when I would take aniracetam, the words that I needed, like when you write something, I type very fast. When I would write something, I would frequently find myself having to pause and think what word I wanted to use. Not that long, maybe a second, half a second. But when I take that, the words come to me much faster. So it's very useful in those situations. Wellbutrin, I've talked about that before. Better mood, stronger work ethic, meaning that I find it easier to do the things that I don't necessarily want to do. And I'm just in a better mood and I'm happy and I'm like friendly for no reason, really. It's kind of great. Modafinil is also great, and I just call this long-lasting clean energy, right? It's almost like a very mild cup of coffee, but you don't really come down from it. The thing with modafinil is you'll experience like maybe a 2-hour like spike in energy and cognition. And then when that spike wears off, you'll still have like a good like 10 hours of like good energy, right? You're not like jumping all over the place, but you have more energy than if you didn't take it. So it's very good. I kind of want to buy some. Phenibut is good for anti-anxiety, social fluidity. It just makes you better in social situations. It can be, people take this shit too far because the first time you take it, you feel amazing. And then when you take it after that, you feel good, but you don't feel amazing. So people are like, oh, I want to feel amazing again. So they keep increasing the dose. And I've heard horror stories where people are taking 30, 40, 50 grams a day. And I take a gram a day. I've kept it at that. Like it's just don't get carried away with it. It's dangerous if you do, and you don't want that. So just take a gram a day, around there. MK677, faster healing, better body composition, better sleep, skin, and hair. This is one of my favorites, okay? If you have injuries, forget about even having injuries. If you train hard and you are of a certain age where your body may not recover as quickly as it does or it did before, or maybe you spend a lot of time working and you're sitting down a lot and your hamstrings are tight and you're not able to train as hard as you used to because of your increased responsibilities from spending so much time at work, let's say, this will kind of like make that not be a thing. So it's just better all around for that. Body composition, it has been shown to increase lean body mass. So like I'm assuming here that means muscle. Could mean other stuff too. It has been shown also to like improve bone density in elderly and also obese people. Reduces fat mass, or what's it called? I want to say fat mass. I don't know, something like that in the study. Also, you sleep like a baby. Oh my goodness. Like it will make you a little bit tired during the day, a little bit of lethargy. You'll be lethargic, right? Your skin will improve and your hair will grow faster. Your nails will also grow faster. So if that's interesting to you at all, then definitely check that out. C60 fullerene, more endurance, stronger and faster healing. This is a type of carbon molecule that has, I don't know, it's shaped like a soccer ball. That's all I know. And it's technically like nano technology. It's called a carbon nanotube, right? And the way they discovered this is they thought it was toxic, right? So they mixed a bunch of it with olive oil and they gave it to these rats. This was like 10 years ago or something, 20 maybe. Anyway, they gave it to these rats and thinking the rats would like die right away. And the rats ended up living for like 6 years, which like, if you know anything about rats, like they do not live for 6 years. They live for like 18 months or 2 years tops. And these rats, they lived like 5-6 years. And I want to say the last one or the last two didn't even die of old age. They like, they didn't expect the study to go for 6 years. So they just killed the rat. They're like, okay, we want to like write our paper. So they killed the rat and, whatever. So ever since that study came out, people have been like all about this stuff. You have all kinds of websites that sell C60 and olive oil. I've taken this quite a bit. This is like probably my biggest cowboy moment where I took this. Honestly, was a little bit scared first time I took it, but experienced quite a few benefits. And like the thing is with this has not been studied on humans at all. So you will not find any studies on this as far as I know. But actually, you know what? I take that back. I do seem to remember that people grew hair faster when they applied this on their skin, right? I think it improves something with follicles. Like they grew like 20% more hair. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I don't think there's been any studies of people actually ingesting this. There are lots of anecdotal reports because this is very common. Well, it's still kind of fringe, but like it's common enough that people try it and buy it and like write about it on the internet. But I like it. I also noticed that this helps with injury recovery. I remember one time when I was working out at the gym, I started doing my warm up and I grabbed 2 kettlebells instead of 1, and I felt my hamstring pull, and I was like, oh my god! Like I dropped the weights and like hobbled over and sat down, and I sat down for like 10 minutes and my injury was gone. So like, does that have to do with this? Maybe, maybe not. And I also, I noticed that I was stronger in the gym. So like, is it that, is it something else? I don't know, but try it and see, I guess. But I think it's good enough that I would write it in here, especially when I get it from a Chinese supplier for pennies on the dollar. Rhodiola, I mentioned that before. It's something called an adaptogen, right? This is part of Ayurvedic medicine, which is like Indian medicine. And an adaptogen basically means that it helps everything. Like it helps with what you need. However, specifically in my experience, it helps with energy. And like I said earlier, like a little bit with libido and just mental clarity. Coffee. And really this is coffee/energy drinks. But the problem with energy drinks is that I noticed if I drink too many, then I crash. And I can't in good conscience recommend that to people as something they should do, because that does have a negative side effect, which is the crash. And that's something that I don't want to say it's non-negotiable, but like none of this other stuff has negative side effects as far as I know. Maybe the Phenibut is addictive, but like don't be fucking stupid, you know? Anyway, caffeine really in general helps me sell, and it's good for pre-workout. Like now, every time I go to the gym, I'll either have a cup of coffee or an energy drink. And I get results much faster and I train much harder. Agmatine, this is a metabolite of arginine. You get better pumps, better pumps, and it has a calming effect. You can look that up on Examine, but it does kind of like mellow you out a little bit. It's very subtle, but really just take it for the pumps. Like your muscles will fill up with blood and they will stay full of blood throughout the day, depending on how hard you train, how much you take. I take like 500 milligrams. I should take more, but when I take it on an empty stomach, it does kind of like, I just feel like it like sits there like a rock, and I don't like that, obviously. Viagra, like, you know, men out there, like, okay, fine. I'm sure like no man has ever had the problem in the bedroom of that like happening, but like when you take that, you know, there's not gonna be a problem. So like, why? Okay, fine. Should I admit that? Probably not. But like, who cares? Like, Viagra, call me up. Like, I'll be the like poster boy for your fucking commercials or something. This is one of the things where like, do you need it? Probably not. Like, are there other ways for you to like boost your libido and like make sure like everything is working the way that it should? But you could do that, right? And you should do that, or you can just take this like little pill and not have to worry about it. And the little pill has no side effects that are really bad, correct? Like maybe a little bit of a blood pressure increase, but like, I'm not saying like be smart about it, right? Cerebrolysin, this is an extract from a pig's brain. This is like, as far as I know, this is a type of chemical that only pigs produce in their brain. And it's got like a lot of amino acids and growth factors. And people will inject this, right? This has to be injected intramuscularly. There are some reports of people doing it intranasally. Oh, I forgot to write about that. There's some other good ones. Anyway, whatever, you can like get a nasal spray or make a nasal spray out of this, where you just like break the ampule, which is a little glass vial thing, and you pour it into a nasal spray bottle, and you just do like a spray in your nose. I kind of want to do that. I think I still have some here. Anyway, this is really good. It's very expensive though. Like to buy, if you want to take the max dose, which I did, I took it for like 3 months, maybe when I had more money that I knew what to do with. I would take 10 milligrams. Is it 10 milligrams? I think it's 10 milligrams a day in a 10 milliliter bottle. I don't know, whatever the big ampules are. I was doing one of those a day. And it takes like maybe a week or two to kick in, but your appetite goes like through the roof and you have a ton of energy and you just feel so smart. And if it was hard for me to go to sleep, like I couldn't sleep, and I sleep like a baby all the time. But that's good stuff if you can afford it. I think if you want to, I bought it from Cosmic Nootropic, by the way. Shout out to them if you want to check it out. I think it's basically like, I want to say $40 for a 5-pack. So times 6 is like $250. I want to say it was like $250, $300 a month. And I was doing one a day, and yeah, that was it. Basically, it was good. It's good stuff. Kind of wish I had that much money again. Cortexin is the same thing as cerebrolysine, except it's from a cow's brain and not a pig's brain. And this, like, cerebrolysine comes as a liquid, and cortexin comes as a powder that you need to reconstitute with bacteriostatic water and inject it also. I've never heard of anybody doing this as a nasal spray. This is well studied. Okay, this, as far as I know, is only in use in Russia. But cerebrolysine is prescribed to people who have had strokes, as like a stroke recovery type of thing. And as far as I've also heard stories of athletes using it as like a doping agent, because of the like increased benefits that you experience from it. I read an article about that. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. Pro tip to any of you athletes out there who want to boost. Okay, so diet and exercise, like just a quick refresher. I know like I'm having fun talking about all of these like substances and stuff like that, but you still need to have proper diet. You still need to exercise. And then I thought this is pretty clever. Supplements are meant to supplement. They're not called replacements, right? They're not, you don't say like, oh, go take your replacements, because they're not a replacement, right? They are meant to, like I said earlier, improve your functioning on things that you should be doing anyway, to make it easier for you to do the things that you know you should do, basically. Okay, so diet and exercise are still number one. Supplements are also number one, but these are more number one than that, if that makes sense. Like I think they're, I don't want to say mandatory, but like, why wouldn't you take them? Like, money is really the only issue. Like, they only improve your health for the most part. The benefits far outweigh the like negatives. Positives far outweigh the negatives, and you'll live longer. You'll have a happier life. Like, everything will be easier. It'll be great in every way. You can achieve much more with proper supplementation. That said, be careful. You can always, especially like with the dosing, right? You can always take more, but you can't take less. Like, once you swallow that pill or that powder, like, good luck getting it out. Like, how do you even abort that? Maybe it's possible, like take a bunch of activated charcoal, possibly. But you can always take less and take more. You know what I mean? Use responsibly, obviously. Everything you take should have a purpose, right? So like when you take something, think about why you're taking it, right? Just don't just take creatine to take creatine. I mean, okay, fine, that's an exception because that's actually really good. But like, take creatine for the purpose of, know why you're taking it, I guess is a better way to say it. Like, take creatine so that when you go to the gym, it's easier for you to do your workout and to push yourself harder. You know what I mean? Take modafinil because you know that when you go to work, you're going to do better work and you're going to be able to produce more for yourself, for your family, for your company, whatever. And then finally, if you don't react well to something, don't take it. Like, you don't have anything to prove to anybody. Like, it'd be a shame if you don't react well to creatine, but like, or modafinil or something. But like, if you're breaking out in hives, you're vomiting or something, like, who knows? It's possible, unlikely, but possible, I guess. Like, don't take it. You don't have to prove anything. Okay, if you have any questions about specific supplements, like, what do I take for this? What do I take for that? Let me know. Leave me a comment. What do you take? I would like to know what you take, if anything. Do you take creatine? Do you take a multivitamin? Do you take steroids? I don't know. Like, let me know. Let me know. Leave me a comment. Hope that was helpful. If you want to see other videos like this, like well done ones about other things, let me know. Peace.